another amazing guest for you guys. His name is Mark Lane, and he has done a number of fascinating things. He dem exit and then he dem re-entered. Okay, and because of a particularly great candidate that he's now working with. He's on a hunger strike now. He's been arrested. He's a dangerous guy. He got arrested for feeding the homeless. How dare you be human? There are consequences for that in this country. So let's start at the hunger strike. So you're on it now. What is it for?
Well, I actually just ate because I have some health issues. So I did a solidarity 1 day strike with them, but they're going to go 15 days minimum. It's to abolish ICE. It's to call attention to the separation of the families and reuniting them. We're asking for a meeting with Jerry Brown. We want to abolish ICE. We have a supermajority in California. We shouldn't have for-profit prisons, so we want them to work on that as well.
So who's we? Who's on the hunger strike?
There's 6 people that are doing the full 15 days and beyond. They're local activists in San Diego. There's many people that are doing 1 day, 2 days. There's people supporting the camp and providing security 24 hours. We're in a park right next door to a Border Patrol detention facility. Starting today, every day at 6 to 6:30, we're going to do rallies in the driveway of the Border Patrol to kind of occupy it every single day. We're having phenomenal response from the neighborhood. There's people that live right next door to the facility and never knew it was a detention facility.
So when you guys say abolish ICE, or Ocasio-Cortez says it, et cetera, Trump and the right wing say, oh, look at these crazy guys. They're just gonna let anybody into the country. There's gonna be no rules anymore. What's your counter to that?
Number one, ICE doesn't control our borders, so it'll have zero effect on letting people in or not letting people in. CBP patrols our borders. Number two, ICE wasn't around prior to 2003, so we did just fine. We survived as a country. We didn't collapse, so it's a baseless argument by them. Talking point.
Okay, and so would you replace anything that ICE is doing, or just get rid of it entirely?
Get rid of it entirely. It's a burn it down and not even a rebuild. You know, prior to Trump, we had some issues with deportations and things like that, but it wasn't like it is today. We're working on the ground level, we're working on the front lines, and they're picking up everybody. They're picking up you targeted, they're picking up collateral, people they find while they're targeting you. And we're not deporting people. Arrests are up, deportations are down. We're just filling beds in for-profit prisons. So I would abolish ICE. We don't need it. I'd abolish for-profit prisons because the only way they make money is by having inventory, and unfortunately the inventory for them is bodies of color, human bodies.
Yeah, that to me is a no-brainer. So I get that abolish ICE for a lot of people that they're unfamiliar with it, and it's going to take a while to explain and gather momentum, et cetera. But private prisons, everybody gets it. Like if you create a profit motive to imprison people, we'll imprison more people. And this is supposed to be the land of the free. And so you're absolutely right, especially in a state like California where Democrats have a supermajority. Having private prisons is unconscionable. There's absolutely no reason for it.
We could be done with them tomorrow if there was incentive for the politicians to be done with them. But they're taking money. We're pressuring the politicians as hard as we can in San Diego. We've gotten to Senator Toni Atkins gave $12,000 in donations to some organizations that work with immigrants. That was the money she took from for-profit prisons. Assemblyman Todd Gloria just gave some money back. I called out Juan Vargas on stage at a rally 2 weeks ago when he said he didn't take it. So I pulled up his reports and walked up to the podium and showed him his reports that he did take it. He said he would give 10 times back if it was true. That hasn't happened. So he hasn't donated the 10 times the 3,000 or the 10 times the 9,650 that he gave to correctional officers. But we're pressuring him hard. And again, like you said, there's no reason at all in California where we control everything as Democrats that we should have for-profit prisons, except for people who are financially vested in it. And when I say people, politicians.
Is Vargas a Democrat?
Yeah, in name. But he's literally done nothing for our district. I actually live in his district for the whole time he's been in Congress. I think his largest, most significant piece of legislation that he's worked on and wrote was to ban Mexican candy. for lead, and I get it. We don't want lead in our candy.
Okay.
But I mean,
I was gonna say a guy named Vargas trying to ban Mexican candy. I mean, Bounds of Reef. Anybody trying to ban it would be preposterous. But if it's for lead, that's good. That's good. Okay.
But it's 20 years. So
that's all he's got for in 20 years. I got you.
But he did yell at the president. That's his big claim to fame. But that doesn't change legislation.
Okay, great. I've also yelled at the president, so I guess we're in good shape. Anyway, why did you Dem re-enter?
You know, I question that every day. It's a broken party, in my opinion. It's a flawed party. But James Aaliyah, who you just interviewed, wanted me to be his campaign manager, and I love him, and I love his values and his standards. And he promised me that it would be easier to burn the party down from the inside than from the outside. And I said, "Where's the forum? I'm in." So you know, and I say that metaphorically, but we do need to change the party politics. We do need to get them back to the left where they used to be a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I'm trying to do with him. I'm running another candidate's campaign as well for a city council position down there, and she refused to go into the Dem party. She's running as an independent, and she's getting some flack from the Dem party. But we're going to run her as an independent, and we're going to win.
Yeah, and so look, kidding aside, the analogy that I use is to take over the Democratic ship, right? And you'd be surprised. I mean, look, there were pushovers against Republicans. And I know they fight progressives way harder and way dirtier, but at the end of the day, they are who they are, right? And we're warriors; they're mercenaries. So
it's a true story.
Yeah, and so we can take over the party and make it progressive again, make it uncorrupted again. That's actually, in my opinion, way easier than starting up a third party, getting on ballots. For those of you not involved in politics, that takes a tremendous amount of organization and money, unfortunately. Right?
Yes.
So let's just, I think taking over the Democratic Party is a much better way to go, but that's me. Okay, some Nazis have attacked you. Okay.
And still do.
And still do. Why? Why did they attack you?
You know, 4 years ago, I don't know if you remember, in Murrieta, there was an issue with the children were coming unaccompanied from Central America. There was 3 buses that were going to a processing center for Border Patrol. And the mayor of Murrieta called in some white supremacist groups, and they blocked on the freeway and stopped the buses, yelling, screaming, very vile. Go back to Mexico, even though they weren't Mexican, things like that.
Oh, really? That distinction was lost on the white supremacists.
You know, they're brown and they speak Spanish, therefore they're Mexican.
Right.
I mean, it's beyond them that other people could speak Spanish. My 5-year-old happened to be sitting on my lap while we were watching that happen on TV, and his view of what he saw was that they were angry at the buses. And he asked me, and he said, I don't understand. Why are they mad at the buses? So now I had to figure out, how do I explain to my 5-year-old they're actually mad at the brown people inside the buses? And from there, I started a page called Boycott Murrieta, called for a complete and total boycott, called for a justice probe of the mayor, of the police chief. And within a week, I was talking to 200,000 people, and I was trying to make myself feel good. And all of a sudden, people were like, what do we do next? I was like, I don't know. But it kind of moved from there. We started brokering donations and things all across the country because people wanted to help. And then my wife and I decided to take in a family to show our 3 boys. The decision was, how do we show our 3 boys the counteraction to the hate and evil that they saw on TV? So we took in a Guatemalan family, a mother and 4 kids. We had them for 4 months in our house on our dime. Contrary to right-wing talking points, we didn't get $7,500 for each person. While they were going through their political asylum process, and I started blogging about them. I wanted to rehumanize them because the right wing is very good at dehumanizing people and making them animals and subhuman. Day 1 with our Guatemalan family. Day 2, we talked about their first ride in an elevator. They came from a little jungle village. We talked about their first trip to a Chinese buffet where they thought they couldn't get seconds because they would get in trouble. I finally got ID'd by the white supremacist and death threats. They put pictures of my wife and my kids on their Nazi sites, Daily Stormer, Stormfront. They came to my restaurant. I actually ended up losing my restaurant and my house through that whole process because of the pressure. Because of the pressure they put on. You would come to my restaurant and have a great meal, but you would also be accosted by Nazis, which made it uncomfortable.
Jesus
So
Christ.
for people to support us, they had to go through that gauntlet You know, I also sold in farmers markets. They would come to the farmers markets and cause trouble there as well. So I just decided, you know, they gave me a platform. I was going to take it. You know, how can I get back at them and hurt them without me having to go to jail after what they did to my family, what they continue to do to my family? They still come after us. And I decided to start helping the people they hate as much as I could. Started the foundation, and we work with immigrants and refugees 7 days a week. I don't make as much money as I did when I had the restaurant, but I sleep good. You know, we have a good network, so when we need to go into a family that's in crisis, we create a circle around them with their network and their community, and also with our network of volunteers. We have a network of attorneys that do pro bono legal work for the families when the parents get detained. We fundraise directly into the family's bank account. We don't touch their money, and they administer their own fundraising. We just raised 90 grand for a family where the mom and dad were taken and 4 kids were left alone. We try to keep the kids in school. We don't want CPS coming and getting them. You know, the initial response for the oldest kid always is to quit to take care of the younger ones, but we don't want that to happen. We just had one of our greatest successes. A 17-year-old kid in a 4-kid family is now going to go to Stanford in September on a full scholarship because we kept him in school and we kept these kids centered. Instead of him running, he wanted to push a pallet the cart 7 days a week and take care of his little brothers and sisters.
There are, you know, we talked on the show today about how there are monsters among us, but there are also amazing people among us. Mark, you're one of those. Thank you for being a real American.
I appreciate that. Thank you.